So, I mean, I got married late in life. So, I've been married to my wife now 12 years. And I'm going to tell you what, that pause, that's the best thing ever.
The
I'll
pause
tell you
button.
what, I'm going to tell you the people that are going to move up are the ones that have the best attitudes. Really great thing from the book study is just after we read a chapter it's just really cool to hear their stories. And I think that helps bring us closer together as a team.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Real People Getting Real Results. So, got a great guest for you today, and I'm excited to introduce him to you here in a minute. First thing I want to do, though, is thank all of you for watching on the Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel or for listening on the Blue Collar Leadership podcast. You can catch it in either spot, and there's some things you'll see on the video you may not obviously be able to see if you listen to the podcast. Also, just like to share with everyone that I've started another playlist, another kind of series, if you want to call it that, called Real Talk with Mack, and you can find that playlist. It won't be on the podcast, but you can find it on the YouTube channel, Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel, and that's going to just be me usually speaking for 3 minutes or less on some subject, just a little authentic, off the cuff lessons. So today I'm happy to speak with Chris Boyd. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to talk with you. I hadn't got to talk to you in quite a while, and I see you still following, man. I know you hadn't dropped the ball. That's why I wanted to get you on the show, because I know we were out speaking to you and your organization in 2022 at the City of Roswell, and you hadn't dropped the ball. So real quick, I always ask people, do you remember how you even come across me, or how we got to know each other?
So I want to say it was 2018 or 19. I think it was 2019. You and Rhea were invited to the Georgia Association of Water Professionals annual conference in Savannah, where you were the guest speaker at one of the luncheons for one of those days. And I met you outside after your talk and picked up a couple of your books. And then you came back in 2022 to the GAWP annual conference and did another talk. And again, I picked up some more books, and I was talking with my director at the time, Sharon Izo, and we wanted to bring you in and have a 4-hour session with our team in environmental public works. And we invited other departments to come and sit in, and it really helped to light a fire under a lot of our staff. So, and I'm just trying to keep that flame burning.
Yeah, yeah, you haven't stopped, and I forgot about how we actually met, but I remember now, since you refreshed my memory. I meet so many people. That first, actually, both of those events we spoke at, it's like you guys have that conference has about 1,500 people. That first one, that's the first one's where we did the three breakouts. We spoke on three different topics, and when we got done, we told people, we'd be out there at the table if somebody wanted to meet and speak to us. And I don't know if you know this, I probably shared it with you at some point, but people come up and talk to us for 6 hours. There was not that long of a line, but the line was never empty. They was always, soon as it got empty, we left. But we were there for 6 hours. You must have been one of those folks out of the 6 hours that we met that first time.
I definitely was.
That that's phenomenal. So tell me a little bit. We'll come back to when we came and spoke at your organization and what you've been doing since then, and maybe before then. But just share with me and the audience, who you are, what you do. I know you've been with the city nearly 30 years. That's a long time. So you've probably done a lot of stuff just there.
I have. So growing up, I actually lived overseas growing up in Singapore, Tehran, Bahrain, and Cairo is where I
Wow.
lived until my eighth grade. I moved back to the States when I was in the eighth grade. My dad was in the oil business at the time,
Okay.
and moved to Roswell about my freshman year of high school. Graduated Roswell High School, and then did a stint at Georgia Southern University for a while, and had trouble trying to figure out what I wanted to major in. So I decided I wanted to take a break from school, and I got a job with the City of Roswell. And I started out in their transportation department, working on a crew, doing anything from paving, pouring sidewalk. Eventually, before I transferred out of transportation, I was running the grass cutting crew, which
Oh,
maintained all the right of way in the City of Roswell.
yeah.
I got tired of, well, I'm allergic to grass. So I had a nice little fungus growing on my arm, and I needed to get away from that. So, well, when I was in transportation, I took advantage of the Roswell's tuition reimbursement program, and I just went back to school. I went to worked all day. I went to classes at night, taking a couple of classes here and there to finish my major. Um, and eventually, I got my bachelor's of science degree in telecommunications management. Um, but in 1999, I transferred out of the transportation department to the environmental public works department to work for the water utility as their field services rep or customer service rep, handling all the customer service complaints, dealing with the work orders that came through from our utility billing division, and all this while still going to school. Um, about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after I started as a field services rep, the superintendent who hired me on resigned.
Oh,
So until they found a new superintendent, I was also taking on the duties of a lot of the administrative work as well. Um, in 2022, I got my degree, and prior to getting the degree, I interned with the city's IT department, which at the time had two people.
okay.
Our IT department. They hired me on in 2022 full time. So I transferred out of public works to the IT department, and I worked there for another 4 years. And I got to build relationships with a lot of people from all different departments. And then in 2005, uh, the water department was looking for a new superintendent, and I'll give a shout out. Kim Shorter wanted me to come and take that position. She was the water resource manager at the time, and uh, I applied, and she gave me the job and took a chance on me, and I've been in the water utility ever since then.
Okay. Well, let me just check because I got confused just a second ago when you were saying when you went to the IT department with two people. I know you didn't mean 2022, but was it 2002? I think you said
It
2022.
was. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was 2002, I apologize. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
that's all right. I just want to make sure that I was
Yeah, it
getting
wasn't
it
in
right.
2022. No, it was 2002, and then 2006, I became the water distribution superintendent.
Okay, yeah, I may have heard it. I may have thought I heard it wrong, so it
No,
doesn't
I
matter
think
either
I
way.
said it wrong. That's it
It's a lot of
happens.
years.
Um, then in 2015, the new director at the time reorganized all of the divisions under environmental public works and promoted me to the water distribution manager. So now, I oversee treatment and distribution, and I love everything that I do with water. I mean, this has turned out to be a career,
Wow,
and
that's awesome, and it's very important. I mean,
oh yeah,
we gotta have some clean, squared away water. That's like everybody probably takes it for granted, but it's a really big deal.
definitely. I mean, people don't think about water until it doesn't come out their tap, and then everyone goes crazy.
Or they have to boil it, and it does come out, and
Oh
they got
yeah,
to boil it or something like that, right? It's like crazy. Then all you guys get recognized. Usually, you either get recognized for why it went off, or either you're a hero for getting it back on, right?
that's correct.
So, how big is your team now? You got a team of people reporting to you?
Yeah, so I've got 8 people in distribution and 7 people at the treatment plant, and plus my admin assistant. So about 16 people report to me.
Okay, and the role you're in now is the role you were in a couple years ago when we were there. The same.
Yes.
Okay, and you were really gung ho. I remember when we started talking because we talked a little bit before we came there, and you were really gung ho about getting us in there. I remember we talked to some of your friends, some not your friends, they may be your friends, but some of your team members. We talked to some of them. They come up and talk to us. We had some good chats there at the end, and they were getting into the book studies. I think one of them told me that he wasn't really interested to begin with, but then he was liking it, and after he heard us, he was even more interested. How did that go? How was it received? You know, you guys hadn't done anything like that with them. I don't recall when we came in.
No, we hadn't done any of the book studies at the time. So Roswell has a program, a couple of programs that they runs through our human resources department. One is supervisory development program, which is SDP, and then they have a second leadership course that comes after that. It used to be called Lead, but now they're calling it Discovery Leadership.
Okay.
Um, so we've had those programs going on, and I would encourage people to sign up and go through those courses. I would also have people go through the Leadership Academy that the Georgia Association of Water Professionals has too, and they have a Leadership 1 and 2, and now they've combined those into one
Okay.
Leadership Academy, and I send folks through it. Leadership is so important, and with the water industry the way it is today, there's a lot of people retiring that have been in the industry for decades.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of institutional knowledge that is just going away. Um, and I want to make sure that, we've got people that can move up within the organization to fill those spots.
Yeah.
And succession planning is a big deal here at Roswell. We want to make sure people are ready to move into that next role. I'm going to retire at one day. I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow, or may not be for another 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one day I'll retire, but I need to know that I've got someone ready to step into my shoes. And that's what leadership is all about, is preparing the people to move up to better themselves. At least
Yeah.
that's the way I see what my responsibility is to help people improve their situation. Um, Whether they stay with the utility, move to another department, stay with the city, move to another organization, I want to prepare them so that they can improve their situation and become the leaders that I know that they can be.
Yep. How big a role does it play for you? I know the people you're including in all this different type development you're doing. The one who's more likely to get promoted, Chris? The ones who are buying into it, who gung ho about it, or the ones who ain't interested in it?
I'm going to tell you, the people that are going to move up are the ones that have the best attitudes. And um, the ones that are into it, that are buying into the leadership, that are asking the tough questions, that are actually trying to change, I guess is the way I want to phrase it.
Yep.
How they lead, because I look at all of my team, and you'll hear me call them my team because we're all a team.
Yep.
Teamwork is everything in water, or at least here in Roswell Water Utility, teamwork is everything.
Yeah.
Every one of them's a leader. Every one of them's a follower. I learned that from Jimmy Collins.
Yeah.
I saw him on your podcast one time, and I
Yep.
follow him on LinkedIn too.
Yep.
But they teach me as much as I teach them, and that's what we're here to do. And the book studies, we still have them today.
Yeah. You've
We're
been doing them for
finishing
2
up.
years
Yeah,
steadily.
yeah. We
Wow,
we
that's
meet
awesome.
we
That's
meet
awesome, Chris.
we used to meet Mondays and Thursdays twice a week. We're down to one day a week. Monday mornings, we'll get together and we'll read a chapter. Uh, we've done leading from the front lines. We've done teamwork. We're on the supervisory
Supervision.
one. Yep, supervision. And we're about to finish it. We're two chapters away from finishing it. And I've given them the opportunity to choose what's the next leadership book that you want to read.
Yeah.
And suggestions came out. I gave them a list of a bunch of leadership books that are out there.
Yep.
And they all decided they wanted to read Extreme Ownership. So I've got that on order for everyone, by Jocko
Yeah,
Willink.
that's awesome. Yeah,
And
that's
yeah,
it.
it was an intense. I read that in 2018, so I can't wait to get back and read it again and see what I remember from it, but also what else I'm going to learn from it too. Because I find that even with leading from the front lines and the supervision book, this is probably my fourth time going through it, reading it.
Okay. Blue
I
collar
always
leadership and
find
supervision.
something new that I highlight or pull out. And the other really great thing from the book study is just after we read a chapter or after we talk about a quote or something comes out of it, going around the room and hearing what everyone has to say and past experiences and how it's different today. And um, it's just really cool to hear their stories. And I think that helps bring us closer together as a team.
Yeah, yeah, and that's awesome. So you can tell your team, and you already know it, but the extreme ownership from Jocko, that book's really closely related to the Frontlines book because it's all about taking ownership, which is really what the blue collar leadership leading from the front lines book is about. All of my books are about that, but especially the Frontlines book. So that's cool. You guys will get a lot out of that without a doubt. So share with me what how your team has grown together. You just talked about that, when they share their stories. What how did for somebody who doesn't understand what that means, because you obviously value it. Your team seems to really be interested. They're doing it with you, and they participating in it. And what is it about that book study that makes you want to keep doing them? I mean, you kind of just described it, but when somebody shares a story, everybody gets closer, like you said, right? What does that mean to somebody who never done it?
I think it's just you get to learn more about the person that you're working with that you typically don't open up. Now, for me, I'm an introvert by nature. I am not one to come out and just open up and spill my whole life out to anyone that's wants to listen. My wife, on the other hand, she's an extrovert. She doesn't know a stranger. No one is a stranger to her.
Okay. Are you? Can I ask if you're stretching yourself to do this conversation recording with me? Is this a stretch or is
It's
this okay?
it's it's out of my comfort zone, so that's fine.
Okay. So you're growing. You're
I
modeling
have to
growth.
get up and talk in the public every now and then. Do presentations, and it gets me out of my comfort zone. I'm getting better at it, but it's still not the most comfortable place to be.
Okay.
But I can tell you that I don't or I didn't always come in and just kind of share what's going on in my personal life with the team. I didn't want to bring my personal life to work, and I don't like taking my work back home. Um, but a few years ago, my wife had surgery, and I did share that with the team, and I think the team got closer to me in that way because I had a bunch of them come up and thank me for sharing what was going on, and it was kind of an eye opener to me, and that we need to be open and be able to share our experiences and what's going on in our life. It doesn't need to affect what we're doing at work, but I think it shows empathy
Yeah.
and that we care.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit more open. I'm still a little reserved, but I'm getting better. And that's part of these book studies and these leaderships is you begin to open up a little bit more. And I don't force anyone to do the book study. I don't, when they go, we go around the table. If you want to read, great. If you don't want to read, pass. That's fine. If you want to share, great. If you don't want to share, that's fine. But just being able to listen what others say, and how they, sometimes it's interesting to see how they interpret
Yeah.
a sentence or a line that maybe you interpreted a different way, and it's just kind of learning from each other. I think that's the biggest thing is we're learning from each other.
Yeah. That's pretty powerful. So have you seen, like you're saying, you're an introvert by nature. Have you seen some of your team members who maybe introverts as well by nature, and they come in there and they actually end up sharing? Maybe they don't share to start with. They're just quiet and they kind of just sit and observe, and then they kind of start opening up as you go when they become more comfortable. Have you seen anything like that?
Not really. Everyone pretty much. There's a couple of times where no one really wanted to share because what was said before is like, yeah, they said exactly how I feel, and it just kind of goes around the room. It's
Okay.
just interesting how when there have been times we'll read a chapter and we'll find it like, wow, well, when I worked at so and so, it was totally different. Just kind of learning about those type of experiences with the managers that they had at the time and how they treated them and how it was so different here.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that we have worked really hard to build a good culture at the water utility. I've had our HR department state that the water utility has seen the least amount of turnover um, in the city of Roswell compared to other departments that they've noticed. And I think that's just a testament to the culture that we create here. People know that they have my trust. They can come and talk to me about anything. I have an open door policy. Um, I, when I say teamwork, I'm not going to ask anyone to do something I haven't done or wouldn't do. I'll jump in a hole and help them fix a main break. They don't like it, but sometimes I'll go out there and help them just because I know they're getting tired. They want to get the job done, get in and out of there. And I just want to make sure they can get home at a decent time. Sometimes that's not the, sometimes that's not possible. So there are times we've worked 24 hours straight, and
Oh yeah.
that's not easy.
Yeah. And you guys, for the folks who don't know about Roswell, Georgia, that's you guys have an awesome city. I think the few times I've been up there, it just seems like a really nice city. Anybody out there listening that maybe is in the water industry that wants to be in the water industry, if you check out Chris's information here, he's put up his contact info so you can reach out to him, learn more about the city, and he'll talk to you about it. That's some good stuff. You agree though? Roswell's it's pretty nice city, right?
It's a nice city. I mean, I enjoyed my career working here at Roswell. I mean, I've stayed here 29 years, going on 28 years, going on 29 in February. So um, I wouldn't stay here if I didn't enjoy what I do, if I didn't enjoy the people that I work with. Um, this is a really good city to work for, and they're very supportive. Um, I've been allowed to throw in my budget to buy leadership books to be able to provide for the leadership training. I mean, this is how important leadership is to Roswell. They have a supervisory development program, they have a lead program or discovery leadership. Um, they're wanting to, you know, help create the future leaders within the department or within the city.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to look at future leaders to kind of move up in the water utility to kind of take over. Or, like I said, they want to move to another department, better pay, more responsibility, different challenge. I'm here to help facilitate their chances for doing that.
Yep. Yep. That's awesome. And how big is the city? What's the population of the city?
Population is, I think, 96,000. We don't serve 96,000. So we serve about 18,500. We only serve about 20% of Roswell. We were the original water system of Roswell before they started annexing in the unincorporated Fulton County into the city limits. So
Okay.
Fulton County water actually handles 80% of Roswell. So we're a small water system, um, but still vital for the historic district of Roswell.
Okay. So for the folks listening, you're right on the edge of Atlanta, basically. Right. What is it, northeast? You kind of northeast Atlanta or east? I can't remember.
North, north, northwest, I think, of
Okay.
Atlanta.
You're around on the Alabama side of Atlanta.
The Alabama side of 85, I-85.
Okay, so you're around that way. Some reason I always think you're up close to Lake Lanier, but you're not up that way, huh?
We're up towards Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier is probably another 10 or 15 miles down the road,
Okay.
but it's a lot further away from Roswell. That's more in Gwinnett County,
Okay. Yep.
Beaufort, Cumming.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So how have you seen all your book studies, all your efforts besides what you see actually in the book study? What have you seen, like the dynamics? Have you noticed the dynamics of the team working together or working with the public or other departments or anything? Have you noticed all that effort that you've been doing, and not just my books, but everything that y'all do there with your team? Have you? I mean, that's obviously worth it to you because you keep doing the book studies for sure and the other stuff.
We see it, and I see it in the team that everyone's willing to pitch in to help anyone out, and that's one of the key things. Um, Another thing that I do is, I want to give people the chance to grow, so I'll assign them projects, and that they're responsible for the project to get it done. And if projects don't get done, that's on me. Projects get done, we share it with the team and praise their success. Um, but just because if a project doesn't happen, mistakes happen, whatever, I don't get upset or mad, and no one else does. We take it as a learning opportunity. So I forget who said it, but there's no such thing as failure,
Mm,
because every failure can be a success because you're learning from it, and you're getting wiser from it. And that's kind of how I look at any failures we have as a teachable moment. And we learn from that, and we don't repeat the mistakes on down the road. The other thing that we're whenever we hire folks to come in here, used to be that it would be a couple of us that would interview the folks, and now we actually have I say a panel. So when the interview comes in, they'll be sitting in front of about 4 or 5 people, um, going through the interview process because we want to gauge the character of the person.
yep.
I know in your books you talk about character, you talk about competency, and all of that. And I am a true believer that you can hire anyone they may have all the competency in the world, but if they don't have the right attitude, the right character, they're going to cause disruption in the morale of the team and in the culture, and that's not something that we want. So we really look at character of people when we go through the interview process, because we believe that we can teach anyone anything.
Yep.
As long as they're willing to learn, we can teach anyone anything um, in this industry. If you come in here and you don't want to learn, you just we're trying to teach you something, and you're there on your phone in the field. Um, yeah, that's not going to work for us, because you're just not interested in learning. And how are you going to be a contributing team member if you can't even do the job?
Yeah. How often do you see somebody interviewing that actually is already reading leadership books or listening to leadership podcasts? What's the percentage of those people coming, interested in a job that once you get to talking to them, you find out they've been doing it on their own? Is it pretty low?
Very low. I haven't had one come in here that had been looking at this, and that's one of the key things that I promote when we do the interviews. About what's so great is that we do leadership training. We do have these book studies. We have a career development plan, to where if we don't have a vacancy, but you have the skill sets and the certifications, we can promote you up to a certain point.
Yeah.
So we have built in a career development plan within the water utility to help people grow, incentivize them to grow. We want people to grow because that's just going to make the city a better place, and be able to provide better service to our customers and our citizens.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. So I'm always encouraging. I know you've listened to a lot of my podcasts. I'm always encouraging folks to read books. They ain't got to be my books. They can be my books, but any kind of personal growth, leadership development books. I think it's uh, episode 26, I think, is where I talk about people, how they can make sure they get their resume looked at when they send it in, because everybody's got to most of the time these days, got to do online stuff. But I talk about in there doing a hard copy in a nice binder, and then putting that list of your books in that binder as one of the sections in the books, any kind of personal development, and then send it in a FedEx package. Like if I was trying to get a job with you, I'd put it in that binder. I'd have a introductory letter, cover letter on the top. I may have a functional resume and a chronological resume. I'd have a section on education and a section on kind of work history type things, projects I had done, and then I'd have one on personal development, and that's where I'd have my list of books, and then I stick it in a FedEx box package and send it to you. I guarantee you'd look at that one, wouldn't you, if it came in?
Yeah, we definitely would.
And it would stand out, right? Because that's what that's why I'm telling people, read any books you read, make yourself a list, attach them to your resume. Because if you got somebody in that had somebody that was some job you had open, and you're interviewing say 10 people, and one of them had a list of about 10 or 20 books, and it's some of the books you read and that kind of stuff, they'd probably be a priority to talk to, I imagine, wouldn't
Oh yeah,
they? Because
we
like
we,
you said,
we
you have a
definitely
TV.
want to bring them in because they're wanting to grow, and we're looking for people with that want to attitude.
Yep, and I think back behind you there, I see is that Speed of Trust book laying
It
there?
is. I'm actually in the middle of like 3 books.
Okay.
So Speed of Trust, Crucial Conversations, and doing the supervisory development book too. And once we get done with that one, we'll have extreme ownership to go through. But yeah, I started Speed of Trust, and then I got pulled into another book study with JWP doing Crucial Conversations. So I've been reading it, and it's just kind of a back and forth. I've kind of convinced myself I just need to start one of these books over, finish one, and then start the other one over, because
Yeah.
it's tough going back from one book to the other. But I usually try to read, if not a page a day, at least a few pages or a chapter. And sometimes it gets into 2 chapters or 3 or 4. There are times I just don't stop reading because I just get so caught up into it.
Get you hooked. Yeah, that Speed of Trust, that's got some good stuff. That's my number 3 all time favorite book that I've ever read. And 7 Habits is the first one, and 5 Levels of
I, I,
Leadership.
I agree with that one. 7 Habits is my favorite book. And I've already told my staff, I said, we're going to do 7 Habits in a book study.
Yeah.
One day we're going to do it. I'm telling you, it's the best book that you'll ever learn about leadership from. And I think they've see it on. I've actually got it. Where's it at? Oh, I'll let someone borrow it.
Yeah.
That's a mistake. I'll let someone borrow it. Uh, no, 7 Habits is a great book by Stephen Covey, and I think they got intimidated when they saw how thick it was, and then some of the words. And I think just being able to look up what a word means will educate people,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't want them to be intimidated by it. But I think it's got some really great principles in there. Seek first to understand, then be understood. I think it's one of my favorite ones, and think win-win is another one. I can go on. I mean, there's just some great principles in there, and the way Stephen makes it relatable is makes sense to me anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And 5 Levels of Leadership is my number 2 book. I think I see that
Yeah,
back there too.
that's right there. Yeah.
Yep. I can't read them, but I know what they look like. I can identify most of your books back there by just the colors of them and just how they formatted on the side. But yeah, you got some really, really good stuff. So, and you don't have to answer what I'm about to ask if you don't want to. But in general, have you seen this also help you at home? Because I'm always telling people, hey, if you learn this stuff, it ain't just going to help you at work. It's going to help you, in your personal life. Have you seen since you started reading?
Oh,
Whenever you start reading this
yeah,
group stuff?
yeah. So I mean, I got married late in life, so I've been married to my wife now 12 years, and I'm gonna tell you what, that pause, that's the best thing ever.
The
I'll
pause
tell you
button.
what, you need to pause because there'll be times where something gets said and you might want to react to it, but it's best to go ahead and pause because uh, words can hurt, um, and how you react to situations can have a negative effect on your life. So
Oh
the
yeah.
pause helps.
Yeah. So I think I shared a video. I can't remember. I share so many videos. I think it was today where I was talking about learning to control yourself with your spouse, or you're going to find out you ain't got a spouse. A lot of people slip up. But when did you first start reading personal growth and leadership development books? Was it when you met me at the conference, or were you already before that?
I was I was reading some before, so college you read them, So going through school, I read them, and I got to tell you, I don't like reading. I'd rather watch a movie or watch some lecture on it than sit there and read. But I do read.
Okay.
Um, I want to say I really about 2015 I was starting to read some here and there. 2018 is when I read Extreme Ownership, and then we saw you in 2019 and started reading a little bit more. But every now and then, I would see a book that would interest me, and I would just go get it and read it. And then I'd say probably after 2022, I've just started reading a lot more.
You got very intentional after you started doing the book studies with your team.
Yeah,
Have you heard any stories where they started reading other books? Maybe they
I,
come in and tell you about some book they ordered or anything like that.
I have not. I've heard them say they can't wait for Monday for book study. I mean, I've heard that. They'll come in and ask, "Are we doing book study this week?" And it's like, yeah. There have been times we've had to miss it just because things happen at work, and that's a priority too.
Yep.
But usually every Monday morning, 7:30 to 8, that's what the first thing we do. So we'll spend some time doing a book study, whether it's reading chapters, um, listening to a podcast, or because I played some of your podcasts for them, and we pulled up videos. In fact, this past Monday, instead of reading chapters, we watched your latest interview with I think it was Tim, and
I
I
can't
think
even
so.
remember. You talking about on the real people getting real results?
Yeah, we watched a good bit of that, and
What was it about?
the people could relate.
What was it?
I think he worked in the recycling center.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
was Jim. Yeah, Jim.
Jim, yeah,
Yeah. That was that's been a little while ago. That's episode 11, I think. We're on 24 now. We do one a week. But yeah, I shared
well,
that. So y'all watch some of that, or y'all watch all of it?
we watched a good bit of it, and then time was starting to run out, and I was like,
Yeah.
we can finish it next week, or you can finish it on your own. I'm going to send you all the link. You can watch it on your own. Um,
What do they think about that, Chris? Because Jim is awesome, and he watches and listens to every one of these. So he'll be fired up to know that you watched his video. And so what did your team think about? They understood though he was an entry level frontline in
oh,
team
they
member, right?
understood it, and I mean it, and I think that's one of the things the my my team really likes about your books is they can relate to it. Um, when you start reading John Maxwell or Stephen Covey, it's harder for them to relate to it because that's just a whole different industry that they're talking. I mean, they're more into the corporations and the business world
Yep.
than down in the dirt and just dealing with garbage, dealing with recycling, digging trenches, fixing water leaks. I mean, true blue collar workers. I mean, you really speak to them. I think that's trying to get them into that personal growth that they can relate to it, and then want to grow more as they go through it. Anytime there's a leadership class or opportunity to take a class, my folks are coming to me. Can I sign up for it? Absolutely.
That's good.
Um, I've got one. A lot of my folks have gone through all the leadership academies. Some of the other ones have finished STP. They're starting in the Discovery. One's finished Discovery. He's doing some mentor. In fact, today the STP class kicked off today for their mentorship, and I'm a mentor, so I
Okay.
volunteer to be a mentor, whether it's someone within our department or someone within another department within the city. um, we want to work with them on setting smart goals, and then they have to, as part of the STB program, they have to do a presentation on an innovative project that would benefit the city, and they present this to the department directors, which is can be nerve wracking, but part of leadership is being able to do some public speaking.
Yep.
So as a mentor, we help them with that and through that process, um, and mentorship doesn't stop at the end of SDP. I mean, if the mentee wants to stop it, okay, mentor. wants to stop it, okay. But if they've got a good relationship, that relationship will carry on for years. I mean, I can't tell you how many people mentored me. I've had several mentors. I've been blessed working here and working with a lot of people that have come and gone that are still here today that have helped mentor me, and that I know that I can go and ask questions or talk to if I have a problem or a situation and try and figure out how to navigate it. So that to me is a plus, and that's what I try to express to the mentees that whoever we get paired with.
Yeah,
Um, that I'm here to help however I can. Whether it's work related or you've got something going on in your personal life, I'm here to listen. And if I can provide advice, great. But I'm here at least to listen and see what's going on.
that's phenomenal. You got any, I guess, quotes that resonate with you from anybody, anytime, anything that you'd like to share with the audience, things that have stood out to you during your growth?
I've actually got a Word document full of quotes
Okay.
where I'll see a quote and I'm like, I really like that, and I'll pull it out.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
So
I had heard a quote. Actually, it was last week at the GAWP chair leadership workshop,
yep.
and the quote, and I think it was Keisha Thorpe who said it, but um, you fail to succeed if you haven't planned for succession. And I think when you start looking at succession planning, I'm probably paraphrasing that quote because I didn't say it right, but
Yeah.
um, that resonated with me because succession planning is so important. Uh, Wardenborough Kane, be humble so you don't stumble.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that quote, and I think that's another key thing within the utility. We have won awards here at the utility: Plan of the Year award, Distribution System of the Year Excellent award, and it's a team effort to win these awards, and I make sure that the team is recognized in front of our mayor and council because they deserve it. They're the reasons that we win these awards. Um, so I think that's a big thing too. Is you need to recognize and praise in public.
Yeah. Yep. That is a big deal. So anything you'd like to share that I didn't ask you about, or you was hoping I'd ask you about? Got anything you want? Anything at all?
No, I mean, if someone wants to come work at the city, we've got open jobs. I mean, feel free to apply. I've got an open meter tech position. Come join the water utility.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's a meter tech do?
So the meter tech, they will troubleshoot meters why they're not reading, perform maintenance on our uh, AMI system to make sure that the tower gateways are performing the way they're supposed to. So our meters read via AMI network or automated metering infrastructure. So we got two towers that call out to the reader, say, hey, send me your readings 4 times a day. And so if meters aren't reading, we need to go and troubleshoot why they're not reading. And then also replace meters and perform locates and assist crews when we have leaks and stuff like that. So um, it's a
Is that
great,
a
it's our entry level for the water
okay?
utility, but
That's
it's a
what I was
way to
about to ask.
grow within the utility.
Yeah, so that's a good spot to get started with the city, especially in your department. And if they want to get gung ho about book studies and leadership development, they probably have a good opportunity in the future to grow at some point, huh?
Absolutely. Get your foot in the door.
And you
I
guys
mean, I
probably
got my foot in the door in 1996 and I've worked my way up. So um, it can be done.
yeah, and I'm sure like most cities, you guys probably got great benefits and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. They've got really good benefits here at Roswell.
All right, so Ria's been sharing. You guys put that back up, Ria, so I can. It's Roswell, ROSWELLGOV.com. If you're on the podcast listening and can't read it, that's some of the stuff you can't see when you just listen on the podcast. And I wasn't thinking about that earlier, so I was going to make sure I shared that out with folks. But and you got other how big is the city employee uh, group? Do you know about how many employees in the city as a whole? like a couple hundred or 1,000 or
It's not 1,000. I would say probably about 400 or 500. I couldn't tell you for sure.
yeah, it's pretty good size though. You guys got a good size opportunities for a lot of folks. You guys have a police department, fire department, and all that sort of thing.
We definitely do. Police, fire, transportation, rec and parks, administration, community development, and that's just to name a few of them.
Yeah, you
Or
got all kind
most
of blue
of them.
collar jobs. I mean, you got tons and tons. You got the maintenance crews. You probably got storm. Or do you do storm water? Is that part of the water, or is that different?
Stormwater falls under environmental public works, and that's a division within our department that's operated by another team. We're all housed together and we all work together. There's a lot of times the stormwater guys will come out and help us on a job, and
Okay.
we'll reciprocate any way that we can.
Yeah, I bet city governments. A lot of people it don't land on their radar a lot of times. Probably when they're thinking about employment, but it should because you guys have so many different kind of jobs and you got great benefits and you ain't going nowhere. Ain't like you're gonna shut down.
And there's just so many different facets. I mean, you don't. It's not all about being out in the field and putting putting down asphalt, pouring concrete, fixing water. I mean, you've got an IT department, you've got a GIS department, you've got a plan review department, you've got police. I mean, you look at engineers. I mean, there's just so many positions within the city and that you can grow into, and it's just a great organization to work for.
Yeah, outstanding. So I'm glad that you come on to share about your story and share about the city of Roswell and what actually made you say yes, knowing that you're an introvert. What made you say yes to this in the first place?
Well, one of the things in leadership, they say the best thing you do is get out of your comfort zone because that's how you're going to grow. So that was one of the reasons, and honestly, it's just an honor that you even want to talk to me because all I'm doing is just what I feel is my job, which is to help support my staff
You,
and my team.
yeah, and you're doing it, and that's why I wanted you on here because you're another example of a leader out there doing it. You know, Jim's a frontline entry level guy, but he's still a leader. Like you said, everybody's a leader, and Jim's out there doing it. You're in the top level in the water department, leading right, and you're out there doing it. Anybody can do it. That's why I'm so excited when y'all volunteer to get on here and share a little bit of your story. But I remember what you just said. I think when we got out of the truck that day and we had our books on that little rack and, our little cart rack, it's got our books in it when we were coming in to speak. I think I was praising you when we were walking in. You said the same thing you just said. I'm just doing my job, try to help everybody be better, doing my part. Like, like it's really nothing being humble, but it's a big deal. Just like you said, nobody's come in who focuses on leadership development. Nobody's bringing, anybody you've interviewed not bringing that, and you've probably interviewed people who work with other cities who are coming to try to work in your city or with the county government, that sort of thing, and most people are not doing this stuff, not at the level you're doing it. So I'm really really appreciative of it because from talking to me and listening to my podcast, this is far bigger than just what you're doing for these folks at work. It's a big deal, in their life. And to me, it's what's missing in our world. We're not getting that character development. Everything wrong in our world can be traced back to the same root cause, lack of character, at some level. So that's why I appreciate what you're doing. It's a really big deal for me. And it ain't even about work. For me, it is for you. Obviously, it's your team, but in general, it's just about helping people because there's people who are going through your book studies. I guarantee you that they're taking it home. They may have children. They may be talking about the pause button, even if it's nothing but that one principle. That's a big principle, right? So I really appreciate it, Chris, and you have got out of your comfort zone, and that's where all the growth happens. So you're still modeling leadership. Anything else?
No, like I said, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, sir. We'll wrap it up, and I thank everyone for listening. Talk to you next time.